First thing they have to do? No. What's the first thing they have to do? You have to find an employer. Very good. You have to find an employer. So who can employ the sales associate? Broker. Who else? Only developer. Who else? One more. A governmental agency. Those are the three employers who can employ a sales associate. So in order to employ that sales associate, for them to go out and practice the service of real estate, what does the employer has to do? Just heard the word before. The R word. They have to register you. And once they register you, your status becomes active. Now what you can do? You can go and do what? Perform all of those services for others and for compensation on behalf of whom? Your employer. And how many employees can you have? Only one. And who can pay you? Only your employer. Now you got it. Finally. Wow. I got to walk you through the book. Right? So, this is exactly what we discussed. Which is the following. It's not a requirement to obtain a foreign resident license. Residency is not a requirement. The rest is passing two exams, have a high school diploma, and complete a pre-licensing course. Unless you're exempted. Now, this sales associate wants to become a broker. So what does a sales associate has to do to become a broker? Very good. Apply for it. You have to apply for it. There you go. Okay, I tricked you the second time around. You have to apply for it. And if you don't apply for it, you'll never get a broker's license. So when you apply for a broker's license, you have to meet the application requirements. The same application requirements you have to meet as a sales associate. But there's one other requirement you must meet. And what that requirement is called? E-word. Come on, brokers. Surprised me you know the answer. It's called experience. You need to have the experience. So what's the timeline, class, for experience or to become a broker? Never pick the 2 years. It's wrong. You must have at least 24 months in the prior 5 years of the date the application was sent to the department. Must have 24 months, not 2 years. 24 months in the previous 5 years. 24 months in the preceding 5 years. And it must be with an active broker or a governmental agency. Never, 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 never pick the 2-year answer. 2-year answer means you have to have it consecutive. 24 months, it could be staggered within the previous 5 years. So within the past 5 years, you must have at least 24 months. Make sure you pick that answer. Never, never the 2-year answer. Always seems to be that misunderstanding. 24 months is 2 years. Yes, but you don't need to have 2 years of experience. It's 24 months in the preceding 5. Could be staggered. Yes, not to the only developer. So the education requirements to the broker. You must successfully complete your pre-licensing education requirements unless you are exempted. So who are the people that are exempted from the broker's spree?
Attorneys.
Do you have a 4-year degree or master's? Who else?
Attorneys.
Nobody else. The attorney is not exempted from the broker's pre-licensing education. Never, 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 never pick the attorney. Always seems to put the attorney there and people get the answer wrong. The attorney is only exempted from the pre-licensing education requirements to get a sales associate's license and the continuing education requirement to maintain their license. They have to take every other education. They have to take the post for sales. They have to take the pre for brokers. They have to take the post for brokers. Are we clear? The attorney, one more time, is only exempted from the pre-licensing education for a sales associate's license and the continuing education to maintain their license. They're not exempted from the post-sales, the pre for brokers, nor the post for brokers. They have to take it. The person that has a degree in real estate is exempted from all pre and all post-licensing education requirements. One more time, the person that has a degree in real estate is exempted from all pre for both licenses and all post for both licenses. They don't have to take it. That degree in real estate gives them the exemption. They have to take the CEU, however, to maintain their license in the second and subsequent renewal cycle. So those are the exempted people. Make sure you pick the right person. So 24 months. In the preceding 5 years from the date the license is date stamped by the department. You go back 24 months, and brokers, the experience can come from another state or another country, providing they have a letter of good standing from the state or country they're coming from. Then we recognize your experience. So 24 months, know the timeline. So, in order for a sales associate to qualify for a broker's license, they must they have to complete the education. So, broker applicant went to the state exam and passes the state exam. What type of license the department will issue to that broker applicant?
Broker associate.
May I trick you again? What did the person apply for? And what did he get? A broker's license. There's no such thing as a broker associate's license. Do not never pick that answer. Get a broker's license. You apply for a broker's license, you get a broker's license. You apply for American Express card, what you get? You will get a Visa card. You get a American Express card, right? The status they'll put in the license is somewhat different. And let me explain to the broker students how they determine your status. So, if the broker applicant is registered with an employer when they take the broker's exam, and they pass the broker's exam, they will get a broker's license with a broker associate status with your current employer. If the broker applicant is not registered with an employer, passes the broker's exam, they will get a broker's license with an inactive status. The status will be inactive. Now, exam question. For that broker who has an inactive license, wants to be active, what is the first requirement they must fulfill? Come on, brokers, entertain me. You know the answer. I did that in the classroom many times. What must that broker do to be active? No. They must go and register an office. They must go and register an office. Every single active broker in the state of Florida must have what? An office. That's how they become active. If they don't have an office registered, can't be active. The only way that they could be active if they want to use the broker's license is to go and be a broker associate with their employer. So only two choices they have. If they want to be active, and an active broker, they must go and register an office. If they don't have an office, they cannot be an active broker. And if they want to perform the service of real estate with their broker's license and they don't have an office, the only alternative they have is go and be a broker associate with an employer. They're not an active broker, they're a broker associate. And if that broker associate decides to become inactive, what will be their status? What will be their status? Inactive. And inactive what? They become an inactive broker. There's no such thing as an inactive broker associate. Never, never, never pick that answer. That answer is always there to trick you. A broker, associate who becomes inactive, they become an inactive broker, not an inactive broker associate. There's no such animal. There's no such thing as an inactive broker associate. Make sure you understand that. Exam question is there, and people tend to pick that one answer. They become an inactive broker. A broker associate is just a status. It's not a license. It's an active status, always active. Are we clear? So remember the concept. Department issues a license. When does the license expire? Very good. Somebody's thinking. Your license expires on the date it says on the license. That's what it is. Because it's considered to be what type of evidence? Exam question. Prima facie evidence. Remember that word? Your license is considered to be prima facie evidence because it's taken at face value. When you present it to the public, telling them you're authorized to practice the service. It's not recognized in court. You go to court with your license, they don't recognize it. You go to give testimony and you present your license, it's not prima facie evidence. They don't recognize that in court because you're not there to practice the service. You're there to give testimony or expert testimony. They don't recognize your license as evidence. Prima facie means it's taken at face value when you go there and present it to the public that you're authorized to practice the service. Here's my license. I'm authorized to practice the service. If I go to court with my license, it doesn't have that effect in court because I'm not there to practice the service. I'm there to give testimony or do something in court. They're not going to pay me for it. I'm not there to sell a home or market the home or do anything in court. In the public, yes. That's why it's considered to be prima facie evidence to the public, not to the court system. So, before that renewal comes around, one has to do their license expired minimum 18 months, maximum 24 months on March 31st or September 30th date. And one has to do their post-licensing education before the first renewal cycle expires. If you're a sales associate, you have to do your 45 hours of post. If you're a broker, you have to do your 60 hours of post. And if you do not do your post, your license becomes null and void. That means you're out in the business. That means in order to get back that license, what you have to do, exactly what you're doing right now. So get your post-licensing education in unless you are exempted. So who's the persons that are exempted from the post?
4-year degree.
A 4-year degree holder and
So, can we go back over that though, because an attorney is exempt from.
One more time. One more time. The attorney is only exempted from the pre-licensing education to get a sales associate's license and the 14 hours of continuing education to maintain your license. Are we clear? The degree holder in real estate is exempted from all pre and all post-licensing education requirements. They don't have to take the pre, they don't have to take the post, but they must take their 14 hours of CE in the second and subsequent renewal cycles. And the reason why the attorney is exempted from the 14 hours, because it's mostly law related. And if the attorney is practicing law, they will give them the exemption. That's like instructors, we are exempted also, but we don't tell that in the classroom. They don't have it in the book, but we are giving it because we teach the class. So, unless you're exempted, only the person that has a degree in real estate. So one has to take their post. If not, their license becomes null and void. Kindly take your post as early as possible. Make sure you do not wait until the last moment. Get it in as early as possible. March 31st, September 30th date, minimum 18 months, maximum 24 months from the date you pass your exam. That's how they establish your expiry date on your license. It's on your license. The broker who loses their license as a broker because they did not do their post, they could still be in the industry. They could ask the department to reissue their sales associate's license. It's called a reissuance. But they have to do what? They have to apply for it. They have to make the application to the department, could I get back my sales associate's license? And the department will do so if they meet the education requirements. So to meet the education requirements to get back that sales associate's license, they have a timeline of 6 months to do so, and they have to do their 14 hours of continuing education. So the broker who loses their broker's license as a result of not doing their post, they can still ask the department to reissue that sales associate's license they had before. It's called a reissuance. But they have to apply for it, and that application must be within 6 months of losing their broker's license by not doing their post. So they have 6 months to apply to the department, can I have my sales associate's license back again? And the department says you have to go and do your 14 hours of CE and pay the fee, and we get back your sales associate's license. But your broker's license is gone. And you have to go back and do the broker's course all over again and get requalified and test again to get back your broker's license. So keep that in mind for the broker who loses their broker's license by not doing the post. They can still come back in the industry by asking for the sales associate's license that they had before, but they must apply for it and do the education to get it. And the education they have to accomplish is 14 hours of continuing education and pay a fee, and they get back their license. Sales associates, you don't have that benefit. Go back and do your sales associates class and get the license again, which is unfortunate. The second and subsequent renewal, one has to do their 14 hours of continuing education unless one is exempted. So who's exempted from the 14 hours of CE? The attorney. No, not and. There's no only person that is exempted from the 14 hours of CE is the attorney. The only person. And instructions, but we're not part of the book. We have our own requirements. So, 14 hours of CE, the only person that is exempted is the attorney, who's a member of the Florida Bar, because it's law related, and the department decided to give them the exemption. So the attorney can just submit their renewal and don't have to meet the education requirements because they're already practicing law, but everybody else will have to do it. So know the exemptions. Don't get confused. So the application, one more time, that was sent into the department regardless of for sales associates application or broker, the timelines are the same. Have 30 days. The department has 30 days to check for errors or omissions. Have 90 days to approve or deny the application. We discussed the two denials this morning. You have a denial without prejudice. That means the applicant did not complete the required the application as required. With prejudice means the applicant has some background problems. That affirmation, that design, they did not disclose those things that they have in their background, or they did disclose and the department figure out they're not ready to get a license. And they will deny the application, but doesn't mean that they wouldn't get a license. They have to go through a longer process of seeing that the application get approved. Go to a hearing, go up to Orlando before the commission in an informal hearing, or go to court and litigate. And let the court decides if the application should be approved for them to take a state exam. Everyone has to take the state exam. No one is exempted from the state exam. Keep that in mind. No one is exempted from the state exam. Everyone, no matter who you are, must take and pass the state exam to get a license. No matter who you are and how educated you are, where you come from, you must take and pass the state exam. Question. The department received Jim Sales Associate application on July 12, 2016. Jim's application will expire if he does not take the license exam before what date? Very simple question. What date, guys? No? That's C. Application has a 2-year cycle. 2 years from the date this day stamp. Not your license. That's not your license. It says license with the other word. license application. Application, one more time, expires in 2 years after the date is date stamped by the department. When the department receives it, 2 years from that date, it expires. Just like your course completion slip that we gave you from the school, has the same expiry time, 2 years from the date you pass the state year school exam. And you have to basically pass the state exam. If you don't, you have to come back into the classroom and do the education all over again. That's what we tell you in the classroom. It has 2 years. Your application has 2 years. Your course completion slip has 2 years. Question. One reason for the applicant's request for licensure to be denied without prejudice is keyword without prejudice. Gotta be D, right? The rest are with prejudice. Cheated on the state exam, disbarred by the legal profession, convicted of fraud. These are all with prejudice issues. The department will flag the application and put you through the long process of getting it approved or denied. It's called denial with prejudice. This is denial without. So in order to be active as a sales associate, one must have an employer. And the employer must register that licensee. You have a license now, and the license becomes active. So associates active their license by being employed by a broker or an owner developer or a governmental agency. I don't have that there. You can also go and work for a governmental agency with an active status. Brokers must maintain a physical office, like we discussed, and the office must be registered, must have an office. Every single active broker must have an office. If one does not want to practice the service, one can request a voluntarily inactive status. And what is the timeline for being voluntarily inactive, class? What is the timeline for being voluntarily inactive? Indefinitely. Don't get mixed up with the involuntary inactive status. Voluntary is by choice. One doesn't have to practice the service. You can get a license and don't practice the service. And you have to request the status. Every 2 years, when one renews their license on time, one can request the status. I want to be voluntarily inactive. Until such time, I want to activate my license sometime in the future. Then I'll have to find myself an employer. Involuntary inactive, the maximum time is how long? 2 years. Come on, guys, you have to know the timeline. Involuntary inactive, the maximum timeline is 2 years. And if one does nothing with your license after 2 years, what happens to the license? It's gone. It's gone null and void. And that means if you want the license, regardless what type of license you have, what do you have to do to get back that license, class? Have to start all over again. Make the application, go and take the sales associates class, and go through all the long process that you did before. Regardless if you are a broker or a sales associate, you go through the same process. So being involuntary inactive for more than 2 years, one's license becomes null and void, and if one wants that license back again, you have to start all over, regardless of the type of license you have. You go back to the sales associates class, and you take the sales associates spree, and don't take the state exam, and do all those things that you did before. So maintain your license. Go ahead.
You said regardless if you're a broker.
Regardless if you're a broker, you go back to be a sales associate.
But we just said that if a
No,
broker.
that's a post. Not your.
On the post.
Oh, don't get mixed up.
Okay.
Don't get mixed up. Involuntary inactive means you're out of the business after 2 years. You become a new home, you become a first-time home buyer again. Like you never had a license before. In your post, yes, the broker can ask for the reissuance of the sales associate's license. But being involuntary inactive, right, this is second and subsequent renewals, and you're a broker or sales associate, you lose the license and you're like a new person again. Like you never had a license before. You have to start all over again as a new person. Or sales associates class. Broker or sales associate, you have to go through the same process. In the sales associate, only one employer in Florida at any time, because your license allows you to practice the service in this state, not another state. Your Florida real estate license only allows you to practice the service in the state of Florida. not in any other state. You can't use your Florida license in another state. This is not like your driver's license, which you're allowed to drive because we have agreements in the union that or your driver's license in the state allows you to drive all the highways in this country. Your license is state law. That means it ends at the state line. It doesn't go beyond the state line. So only in the state of Florida. If you want to go and practice real estate in another state, you go to that state to get a license. Don't treat it as a driver's license. There's an agreement between the states that your driver's license allows you to drive in all the other states. It's an agreement between the states. No exceptions to this rule, because if you do, they charge you with a felony. Question: once notified that you have passed the state exam, you may? Yes. Work for a broker, or a developer, or a governmental agency, but not all at the same time. You only can have one employer. You cannot have two employers. If you do, it's a violation of law. So the statute says, unless you are specifically exempted. So these are individuals, when they perform the service, it's called exempted service, which means they get compensated and is not considered to be a service of real estate that requires a license. These are the exempted service, or the people that are exempted while receiving the compensation. Keywords: paid a salary, not per transaction, employees of owners. So if the owner employs the person without a license, the owner can pay them a salary. That's good enough, not per transaction. Condo or co-op managers or rental agents working in an on-site rental office. Leasing up to 1 year. 1 year, salary goes together. More than 1 year, must have a license. So the year and the salary goes together to be an exempted service. If it's more than 1 year and still pay the salary, one must have a license. An attorney at law, certified public accountants, it has to be within the scope of the professional duties. That means they were hired to perform this exempted service, and they can only bill their customers or clients their normal billing rate. They can't bill them a fee based on commission. The fee must be based on their normal billing rate. That makes it an exempted service. If they're going to bill based on the value of the transaction, they must have a license. It's not an exempted service. So the exempted service is if it's within the scope of the professional duties and the compensation they receive is based on the normal billing rate. Whatever the normal billing rate is for the CPA or the accountant or the attorney, they can bill the customer for that service they perform. It's called exempted. And what makes it exempted? Because they're asked to do it and they pay the normal billing rate based on what they practice and service. Individuals appointed by court or appointed by will, they can also practice the service for that person who appoints them. And they can only charge a fee based on what they think is appropriate. They can't charge a commission. They can't charge, the only people can charge commissions are if you're a licensed individual. So that individual can charge any other form of compensation. Compensation is anything of value. So whatever compensation they think is appropriate for practicing the service, because it is an exempted service. They are appointed by the court to do it. They are appointed by the will on behalf of the deceased. They handle the deceased's estate. They can do it, and they are exempted. But the only compensation they can charge is any other form of compensation other than a commission. They can't say, well, I'm going to charge a commission for practicing the service. They can't do that. They can charge any other form of compensation for their services, but not a commission based on the value of the transaction. Court appointed individuals. Question: an owner appoints a neighbor to sell her house in the event that she died. Which of the following applies? Because it's appointed by will. The seats appoints them as a personal representative. When you're appointed by will, you're an executor or a personal representative. That means you can go and dispose of the deceased's estate, real estate, or any other personal or real property, and get paid accordingly.
Can I ask you a question on
Go ahead.
this one?
Go ahead.
When you say owner of the property or owner of the company?
Owner of property.
Property.
Yeah.
So a management company that works for other owners.
No.
There must be license.
Yes.
Okay.
Owner can appoint you to practice, to handle their estate. The company doesn't have an estate. The company doesn't die.
That's why I want to clarify.
Right.
You said owner. Okay.
Yeah, because you go back there, appoint to sell their house, and eventually die. The company doesn't die. Right? Companies never die. Companies dissolve. They never die. Right? They're continuous. Individuals die. Right? Mary, who is not licensed, works for AAA Syndicate, which buys and sells its own property, as well as manages and leases its own property. Mary was hired to lease and sell AAA's property and is compensated by a salary. Keyword. Does Mary need a license?
No, no.
So which answer is correct? When you say no license required, that means there's no violation of the license law. So that's another way of saying Mary is exempted from getting a license because she is a salary and is exempted service. Therefore, there's no violation of the 475 statute. That's another way of saying she doesn't require a license. John is a salaried resident manager of the condominium complex. Owner of one of the units asks John to lease his unit while he's away on an extended trip. John may. Very good. Why? He's salaried and the time is not up to 1 year. That makes it an exempted service. Anything more than 1 year, John may have to need to have a license. Owner of a service station who holds an inactive sales associate's license has been appointed by the court to appraise another service station. Which is most correct? Yes. He can be compensated for his service because he is. That makes him exempted. It's an exempted service. Let's go to the back of the book and let's look at some questions that pertain to this concept. Question 177. Question 177. A, B, and C bought 640 acres of land with equal and undivided interest. A and B were brokers, C was not. A and B were frequent business partners, but decide to let C handle the resale of the tract. C had very little experience, but was able to find a buyer willing to pay a good price. Because of this, A and B decided to give C 40% of the profits and divide equally the balance of the profit, which applies. Is there a violation of law?
Yes.
And the answer is C. Where is the violation?
40%.
Because C got more than what C is entitled to get. That's where the violation is. If C got equal shares, then there's no violation. But C, being unlicensed, got more than what C is entitled to get. That's where the violation occurs. So keep that in mind. If you're partners and you're sharing it equally, that's okay. But if one partner gets more than the other partner for selling the property and they don't have a license, that's called an unlicensed activity. And therefore it's a violation of law. Because you're doing it for others and for compensation. Question 187. Question 187, George Portfolio, stockbroker, who does not hold a real estate license. He believes the stock in Gasaway Corporation has high potential. Upon contacting the president of Gasaway to assist the corporation in listing a stock for sale, he learns that the success of the company hinges on the negotiation of an oil lease. George offers his assistance, and the company engages him to negotiate the lease with Slacker, the owner. Upon closing the lease, George, upon closing the lease, the company employs George as a stockbroker. George subsequently sells the corporation stock. The corporation pays George a commission on the stock sale and gave him 5 shares for handling the oil lease. Is there a violation of law? And the answer is yes. Where's the violation?
Commission.
No, not the commission on the stock sale. You got 5 shares for negotiating the oil lease. Oil is mineral rights. And if you can negotiate mineral rights, you must have a license. It's a type of real estate. Air rights, mineral rights, subsurface rights, surface rights. These are all real estate services. And that's the reason why there's a violation. Not the commission on the stock sale. Stock is personal property. Don't need a real estate license to do that. You need other licenses, a securities license maybe. But air rights, mineral rights, riparian rights, if you negotiate those rights for sale or lease, one must have a real estate license, unless the law exempts you. Question 188. Mr. White referred his sister to a real estate broker, and she purchased a $200,000 home. What may the broker do to show his stance? Give the sister a thank you. Can't give them wine. No dinner. That dinner becomes a worst nightmare. 190. Resident of Canada has been denied a license in the province of Ontario. Subsequently moves to Florida and applies for a real estate sales associate's license. Which would most likely apply? That'd be B, right? And why B? We did it this morning because the application was denied with prejudice. Application was denied with prejudice. That means that he had to disclose that he had a registration or a license denied, and therefore it's a disclosure, and therefore the department will invite him to come to Orlando. Question 195. Question 195. Here an applicant has passed the state examination for becoming a sales associate. An hour later, Aaron has the opportunity to list his neighbor's house for sale. Aaron may no. Aaron can do A. All he has to do is find himself a broker and let the broker register him as being active. Can't find the only developer. Have to find a broker. Because only developers do not take listings. They can't. They only deal in their own property. Question 213. Question 213. It says, to help this customer sell their property, mortgage broker agrees to hold an open house and prepares an offer to purchase on a standard contract for a fee of $250. Which statement is correct? Gotta be D, right? Because the mortgage broker is practicing real estate services without a license. Therefore, is considered to be a third-degree felony. Question 493. 493. Question 493. Broker Paul will serve a subpoena to testify in court. Paul introduces his license into evidence to support his qualifications to testify. What did Paul achieve by this action? Very good. Answer C. Nothing. License has no effect in court. It has an effect in the public. It's prima facie evidence that he presented to the public, not in court. Question 499. 499, broker gave a number of business cards to hotel registration clerk and asked the clerk to refer customers to him. For each customer the clerk refers, the broker promises to pay a fee of $20. What will happen if this fee is paid? Who is violating the law? Both of them. Answer D, David. I mentioned the only time the payer is violates the law if the payer is registered with the department. So the broker paying, the unlicensed person receiving. So they're both going to share that sale. Question 515. 515. A real estate license is required for all of the following individuals except Which one of those? Answer is A, yes. And the key word in A is salary. That makes it an exempted service. The rest must have a license. 518. 518 says, Smith owns an orange grove in a warehouse. Smith died intestate and the court appointed Brown to dispose of Smith's assets. What can Brown do? Can Brown dispose of the assets? Yeah, answer C. Because the court appointed. Brown can do whatever the court says. It's an exempted service. 520. Before Smith dies, Jones has been executor. If Jones wants to actively participate in the sale of Smith's property and be compensated for the efforts, which statement is correct?
D.
Answer is D, yes. No license required because it's an exempted service. Appointed by will. Question 542. Question 542. Broker asks his secretary to attend open house. Secretary quote prices and terms of prospective buyers as per the broker's instructions. Is this a violation of license law? Gotta be yes, right? Which yes is correct? Answer C. Secretary cannot go and do open houses without a license. It's a service of real estate. Therefore, a license is required. So who will be violating the law, guys? Both the broker and the secretary. Question 566. Question 566. A new sales associate does not complete the post-licensing education before the first renewal. What is the sales associate's license status? Please get your posting as early as possible. Do not wait until the last moment. Question 601. Question 601. All of the following are services of real estate requiring a license, except gotta be building. You don't require a real estate license to build property. You require a general contractor's license. If you're building it for yourself, you don't need a license. It's not a real estate service. The rest are services of real estate, showing, selling, counseling. They're all real estate services. 732. Question 732. Which of the following individuals must have a real estate license to perform the action specified? Got to be C, right? And why C? More than 1 year. Very good. It's more than 1 year. They all have salaries, but C, the least term is more than 1 year. That means a license is required. Question 744. Question 744. An owner of land offers an open listing to 3 Florida brokers. The brokers decide to cooperate in the sale and to hold an auction as a means of selling. They retain a tobacco auctioneer from North Carolina and pay $1,000 plus expenses to auction off the property. The auction is held, but the owner rejects all offers. This statement best applies. So did the auctioneer commit a felony? Right.
Yes.
Did the brokers commit a felony also? So which answer is correct? D. David. Paying an unlicensed person for practicing the service and a person practicing the service without a license. They both have issues. Question 787. Question 787. The remote corporation acquires 60 acres of ranch land, subsequently subdivides it into 5-acre ranchettes and offers them for sale. The officers and directors of the corporation agree to pay themselves regular salaries. The corporation will pay each officer or director a commission of 15% of the sale price of any ranchette the said officer or director sells. Which is correct? So are the officers performing the service of real estate? Yes. So therefore, they must have a, and what type of license they must have? Now, what type of real estate license they must have? They must have a broker's license. Why? Why they must have broker's licenses and not sales associates? Very good. They are officers and directors of the corporation. And officers and directors who practicing the service of real estate must be active brokers, not sales associates. Very good. Can't be a sales associate. Gotta be a broker. Question 887. Question 887 says, broker Warmington assigned sales associate Smith to work exclusively in Venice development. Which statement applies? 887. So who gets paid by the developer? The broker. And who's the broker? Warmington. Only Warmington can get paid, and then Warmington is going to pay Smith. The developer Bennett cannot pay Smith directly, has to pay the broker, then the broker compensates the associate. So the answer has to be D. And that basically is how we work in the business. Okay, folks, time for a break. See you back at 11.